And welcome in Judd's Hockey Show, where the Wild, after a feeble performance on Tuesday night, really for the most part against the Ottawa Senators and a loss, plays a game tonight against a much better Maple Leafs team than the Senators are, and they come away with a 3-1 loss. And Declan, Judd and Dex, of course, Judd's Hockey Show. Declan, my first thought is this: that was remindful of a playoff game. Yeah. It was a very close checking game. It was two good teams. It was not a game where there was a lot of cheap shots, but it was physical. It had a lot of elements that we are going to see in springtime. And you know what? Quite frankly, it wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough. It was because that's going to be your prototypical playoff game. And you need to have more. The Wild had some chances there at the end. Duhaime had a marvelous chance off that rebound that he couldn't convert on. Zuccarello had some chances. The second line I thought was great. I thought the Gaudreau, Boldy, Fiala line all night long brought it. But in a game like that, against a team like that, and I did think that the Wild started off far better than they did against the Senators, but that's the type of game where you've got to have more. And yes, Dallas 240 brings up a great point. Wild need more face-off help. I'm right now staring at the final stats. Face-offs tonight, 70% won by Toronto. I'm not good at math, but that means that the Wild won 30%. That's exactly right. So my first reaction was I thought it was an intriguing game to watch. I thought it had, because it was between two good teams, I thought it had elements of what playoff hockey looks like. And I want more. I want more from a team that I have expectations for, and make no mistake, and I think we're right to, and I think Dean Evison and Bill Guerin do. I think everyone has higher expectations of this team. That's my thought.
I was hoping this was going to be a victory beer, Judd, from our friends at Surly Brewing. This is the Hyper Modern.
Oh, God, that's
Idaho 7 IPA.
Oh,
and
ladies and gentlemen.
As I do a little bit of a pour here.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is a winner of a beer. That beer never lets you down.
It's a winner. It won't let me down. I don't think it'll calm me down. We'll see what happens here.
Yeah, let's hear it.
As I finish this.
Let's hear it.
My main takeaway tonight, which was really frustrating, was that your superstar Kirill Kaprizov was non-existent, was a ghost. Wanted photo. Kirill Kaprizov, where is he? I didn't see him in Toronto tonight.
One shot
on goal. Corsi-wise wasn't great. Toronto basically won today on the back of Auston Matthews, who also is a superstar. One of the best damn players in the NHL. The dude just scores goals at such an insane level from difficult, impossible angles. You give him an inch, he'll take a mile. He's insane. But guess what? Their superstar showed up and carried them. Kirill Kaprizov was shut down tonight. And yeah, the Fiala, Gaudreau, Boldy line was great. Boldy makes a beautiful pass behind the net. But at the end of the day, you need your superstar to show up.
Yeah.
I didn't see that from Kirill Kaprizov tonight. And you can say, oh, it's just one bad game. You're going to overreact to one bad game in Toronto on February 24th. No one cares about that. That's being complacent and understanding that, oh, I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's all good. Then how come Toronto's superstar comes out and carries them to the win? That's what I want to see from my superstar. I did not see that from Kirill tonight. And to be honest, it has fired me up because I thought, in general, the Wild played a mostly sound game. Kaapo Kahkonen was great. I want to get to that later. The Boldy Gaudreau, Fiala line was awesome. Connor Dewar in the fourth line continues to make plays and show up when you need them to. Where the hell was your top line, and where was Kirill Kaprizov tonight?
Yeah, and guess what? That's a playoff game too. Like the problem there is, if this was a one-off game on February 24th, it's a great. I'm telling you, man.
I've had it.
Oh, really?
Really
the
good.
Hyper. Oh my God, no, that is a fantastic beer. I love that beer. But no, I mean, tonight was indicative of all the things that you are going to see come springtime, and so. And keep in mind, too, going to play Toronto. Now, probably not as much for Kirill, but going to play the Maple Leafs in Toronto is akin to going to play the Yankees. So, like, I
Yeah.
mean, players get up for this game. This is a huge game. This is considered, I believe, to basically be even more so a little bit, probably the Montreal, the epicenter of hockey.
Yeah.
And so, like, this is a prove it game, national game in lots of ways. And yeah, like this is the type of game where I think it's very fair, no matter the date or time. I think it's very fair to sort of take the temperature of who does what. And look, the second line was great. There were far too many instances, though, tonight of small mistakes that will bite you square in the ass in the playoffs. And if this team goes out in the first round, and look, the Blues are good. Like, if you're playing the Blues, they're a really good team. It's going to be, in my opinion, a massive disappointment. One thing tonight that bothered me especially, and I'm looking at the stats right now, were the giveaways. Kirill had 4 of them. Kirill gave the puck away 4 times, including a first period pass that was irresponsible. And I don't know what he was doing. He's in his own zone, skating towards the blue line, and he decides to basically make a cross ice pass. It gets picked off. Toronto gets a great chance. That's not acceptable. John Merrill, let's see what he had for giveaways tonight. Credited with only 1, but it felt like he had a bad game. Like these are all things. It's almost March. These are all things that are going to become incredibly important here. And so, like, yeah, I wouldn't dismiss. I agree with your angst. I wouldn't dismiss this as, oh, it's no big deal. No, those are the type of losing plays that are going to cost you. And this is not the cute, wild team. Oh, they made the playoffs. Isn't this going to be fun? Right? This is an expectation. I want this team to win a first round series. And if they do indeed face a hell of a team in Colorado in the second round, I want that to be a big time series. So giveaways, complacency, lines being shut down. We saw that from Kaprizov last year against the Golden Knights. Rookie season, I sort of said, okay, playoff time and space disappears. I get all that. But that's your first year. This is a second year now. It's go time now.
Go time.
So, yeah. So what we saw tonight, given the opponent, the venue, and the style, I'm not going to say it concerns me, but it deserves a kick in the back of the breezers.
Yeah, and what have we been talking about with the emergence of the Fiala-Boldy connection here? That, oh my God, this is great because if Kirill gets shut down, there's other horses here that can potentially still score you some big-time goals. And this is one game. It's in a vacuum. We're overanalyzing it and maybe even to a degree overreacting to the loss tonight. But we saw tonight that if Kirill Kaprizov gets shut down, you still can't hang with the big boys. You didn't just lose a fluky game to the Sens, right? Like, you lost to one of the better teams in Toronto. And I know I see some people in our comments saying Toronto has, kind of had some epic playoff meltdowns. To call them the Yankees is a little far-fetched, but no, that's the Mecca Center of hockey. Yes, right. They've had some...
Right, that's going to play them. Yes, not their success.
Embarrassing moments in the playoffs the last 15 years.
Yeah.
I'm with you, and Judd wasn't trying to interpret that
That's either. Yankee Stadium.
But it is. It's the atmosphere,
in Toronto,
man.
Correct.
You can't go into there and have that kind of performance. And for Kirill to get shut down, the Wild didn't have enough horses to rise up. I thought Kaapo Kahkonen was great tonight. And in fact, I would go to him again on Saturday. They keep going to this rotation. They want to keep building up the confidence. They don't want to burn anybody out. Kaapo Kahkonen did nothing wrong tonight. He let in 2 goals from the best goal scorer in the NHL.
Oh, yeah.
Outside of that, he played a pristine, clean, trustworthy game.
Yep.
And if you get your superstar shut down,
yep.
This happened in Vegas, and analytically, while Kirill was putting himself in situations, that's all great. At the end of the day, was he scoring goals? No, he was not. He was shut down.
But he wasn't noticeable enough.
Yeah.
I'm with you on this.
Tonight was one of the more unnoticeable and disappointing games from him, I thought.
Given the circumstances, I agree. And given the style of play, what's important here is when Dino and the boys go and break down this film, This game looks like a playoff game. Kaprizov being as non-existent as he was is concerning. Last year, I'll say it again, against the Golden Knights, this happened. And guess what? It was his first year. I don't think that there was nearly as strong of second line as you have now, especially with the connection between Boldy and Fiala and Gaudreau playing pretty well. And so when you watch this game on film, what you're going to see is you're going to see a reflection of what the playoffs are going to look like. And what you saw tonight across the board, while I enjoyed the game, was not good enough. Like, the expectations here have to be very high. We can't have it's just one game and it'll be fine. The expectations here have been raised. They should be raised. It's why we continue to talk about the March 21st trade deadline, because we're talking about how can you, this is an opportunity for this team in 2022 to put together a serious playoff run. Keep in mind, I'm not saying that you're going to fall off the table after this season and be terrible, but you're going to have 3 years of cap hell. This year you can make trades. And I believe I quoted you the price, I think, if I'm not mistaken, according to Cap Friendly, is that the Wild is going to have something like approximately $13 million with which to work at the deadline. So the expectation here has to be high. And for Kaprizov to disappear. And here's the other thing that I think I'm officially concerned about now. Ryan Hartman.
Yep.
Ryan Hartman. Let's see what we got. Let me see what we got tonight. No points, -1 tonight. He did have a couple shots. He had a hit.
He had a nice shift on that penalty kill.
And that's that fine, but that's not
great.
But
soldier.
That's
yeah.
Right. That's a grinder. That's a digger. That's not a first line guy. And if I am looking at this correct, he won 6% of his faceoffs. Not good enough. And I'm getting concerned because he basically, I looked this up today. Since he scored, in fact, if I can find it here, I can quote it completely accurately. Since he scored 2 goals in a January game against the Blackhawks in Chicago, at which point in time he was white hot.
I got you right here.
His stats since then, I believe, 1 goal. Is that correct?
So I'll take it back even further for you, Joe.
Okay.
Since the game after the Winter Classic on January 6th, 17 games, 4 goals, 5 assists. Since the January 22nd game,
that's what it is.
The day after he scored 2 in Chicago when he had a memorable game, 12 games, 1 goal, -3 on the ice, 17 penalty minutes, playing 18 minutes a night.
Yeah.
To be and I will say he's playing the one center role almost by default, and he was a great story in the first few months of the season.
100%.
Regression's hitting him like a ton of bricks.
Right.
Ton of bricks right now.
Correct.
And I like Hartman's game still. And in fact, I what was it, against Ottawa? Because we kind of touched on this topic a little bit the last time we recorded a few days ago.
Yep.
I said, don't worry about it because Hartman's game can work fine in the playoffs. And I still believe that.
Yeah.
But you need better play from your top line center if you're going to make 4 rounds. If you're going to go into a playoff series,
if you're going to have any chance against
you can't lose
the Avs, you do
94% of your face-off draws. You can't be negative on the ice. You can't not be putting up points and be playing that amount of minutes.
Right.
And that's what the predicament they have in with Ryan Hartman right now.
And to backtrack on the stat that you just gave, after he scored the 2 goals against the Blackhawks in late January in Chicago, if I'm not mistaken, at that point in time, he was a +32. Like, it was off the charts. Yeah. And now he's a minus since then. And the face-off thing, look, I am all for, don't get too upset about face-offs. It's an overrated stat. That's fine. But the reality is, and this occurred again tonight, in the first period, like, if you lose a neutral zone draw, I don't care. But the problem this team has right now is when they need a face-off win late in the game or something, right? They don't get it. They don't get it. I mean, tonight with the goaltender pulled, we saw it. I think it was Tavares won a draw, and he won it fairly cleanly. And so the problem is you don't have a guy who you can put out there at all really consistently and say, okay, right now we have to have possession of the puck. The goaltender's out, right?
Yep.
That might be tonight the worst that I've seen this team look with the goaltender pulled, Declan. Like there was, until they were down by 3-1, there was no threat. Like there was no consistent threat. They basically couldn't get possession. So yeah, there were a few things I saw tonight that worry me more than Tuesday. I perceive Tuesday as just a bad game.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen. That's fine. It's not great, but that's fine. Tonight, though, with the style of play and the team that you were playing, and to your point, their star showing up and being great, I think Auston had 6 takeaways. Like he was fantastic. He won a ton of faceoffs. Tonight's a night where I think you're going to go back and look at the film, and it's at least if you are the coaching staff, it's going to bother you a little bit more.
Yeah, and look, I know that they've lost 4 out of 5, I think now here, and the Ottawa loss, yeah, that one doesn't bug me. But when you go toe-to-toe with one of these best teams in the league and you still have a chance to win the game, you're tied 1-1 after 40 minutes, and your superstar has been lackadaisical for the first 40 minutes and still doesn't show up in those final 20, that starts to concern me. This kind of game isn't going to derail the Wild season by any means. And nor are Judd and I trying to make the point that press the panic button right now and start freaking out because they've lost 4 out of 5. No, but these type of losses stay here more than a loss to the Ottawa Senators on Tuesday night. These are the kind of losses that sting a little bit more and ones that cause for concern because your top line wasn't able to show up. Kirill Kaprizov was a ghost, and basically I thought their goaltending was great, and they still weren't able to get out a win. And I think the final point I'd make just about the game is if you're going to get 4 power play opportunities, you gotta cash in one of these. Like, good for the Wild to slow Toronto down on the penalty kill because Toronto has a lethal power play. But you gotta just cash in on one of these opportunities.
And Zuccarello fanned, I think it was that one shot that was right in the slot. They had some. They didn't get a ton of shots, but I think it was the second power play that they got in the second period. They had some fantastic chances and couldn't cash in with shots. And so the 4 out of 5 doesn't bug me. Here's what bugs me. What bugs me and where I'm a bit unnerved is again how they played in the style of game. Like this game to me, this game, if you're Bill Guerin, you watch this and sort of say to yourself, okay, what can I do to tweak this team? Because if you look at your potential playoff path here, Declan, it's a murderer's row. Like it is difficult. The Blues are really damn good. You might start with them. The Avs, that team, the way that you played tonight, you would have no chance. Like Kaapo can stand on Kaapo's head, which, by the way, in a playoff series and game is a major ask. And, you know, with what you didn't get from your first line, I hope that Dumba comes back soon. I will say, I think there might be a little bit too much on the plate of John Merrill. I like him, yeah. and I'm not saying that he should be scratched. I don't believe that, but I don't think it's a slam dunk when Dumba comes back and you're dealing with a choice between Merrill and Kalen. I don't know that it's a slam dunk that John is always going to play, but they certainly have put a lot on his plate. So, like, there are things that you definitely, if you're Bill Guerin, can look at and say, how did this translate? Because what I basically saw was my team play a playoff style game and it's not good enough. And just to backtrack, Auston Matthews tonight won 89% of his draws.
He was
89% of his draws. So I'm going back and forth on trade deadline moves, and I'm going back and forth on a goaltender or a center. Kaapo played great, but I still have real concerns about Talbot, and I have real concerns about telling Kaapo, carry us now. Like tonight, fantastic. Awesome, dude. Awesome. But we had this, if you go back last season, Dex, we had this exact conversation because he played great. And then he got more put on his plate progressively, and he started to struggle. So I'm not saying I think this team can win a cup. I'm saying that I do expect this team to achieve more. And I am getting a little bit more concerned in games like this about their ability to do what I expect them to do.
And this is the luxury that you had. You got off to a hot start. Everything's okay. The sky isn't falling by any means. But when you start kind of looking at how you lose these games and who did you lose to, it does kind of deflate you a little bit. You know, they lose in a crazy back and forth game to the Panthers. It looks more lopsided because of the pulled goalie and empty net goals. But still, that one kind of was a kick in the groin. And I know both Toronto and Florida are in the East, so you're only going to see those teams if you make the Stanley Cup. And by the way, if this was a Stanley Cup preview night, sign me up at 8 days a week, dude. That was a fun game. Mm-hmm. I would love for these two teams to duke it out over a 7-game series. It'd be a lot of fun. But I that's why also I still want them to put the trust in Kaapo. Last year they did this, and he wilted a little bit. He's younger. Go give him the keys again on Saturday. Give him the keys to the Calgary game and say, you know what, you played well enough. We're not going to turn to Cam. We have every right to. There's no reason why we can't. But I think the Wild should show a faith in confidence, a vote in confidence in Kaapo Kahkonen, and say, go start again and do that again for us. I would like to see that going into the Flames game.
Yeah, I still don't know if I trust him, though. Playoff-wise, I just don't know. I don't know if I trust either one of these guys in a playoff series. I will say this. Auston Matthews, without a doubt, is a star player. But I think the way Toronto played tonight is reflective of what you'll probably see from the Blues. Because the Blues are really good. Husso's been unbelievable in goal. I think it's somewhat of a reflection there. And so I wouldn't dismiss it as, yes, it's a cross-conference game, and yes, you're not going to play Toronto in the playoffs unless you do reach the Stanley Cup Finals. But all that being said, I do think the Blues style of play could be reflected a little bit. And look, anybody that you play is going to try and do their best in the playoffs to frustrate Kirill. We all get that. And I'm not saying he's going to be perfect, but I am with you. I need more. I need more.
I'll push back on that a little bit and say I actually think when Toronto's playing as well as they should be playing, they actually are more reminiscent of Colorado. I mean, they got firepower. They can move the puck well. They can go up and down the ice. Auston Matthews basically beat you tonight. And the last time these two teams played, it was a fun game at the X. I believe that was in November. Back and forth. Just the Wild blew a 3-goal lead, but still it was a blast to watch both teams duke it out and just have some haymakers and go into a track meet. But I'll say that how the Maple Leafs won the night is reminiscent on how the Blues could win.
That's right.
Which is
correct.
Can we shut down your superstar and can we just get a couple timely goals?
Correct.
And that should concern you if you're a Wild fan, because that's how St. Louis would beat you and bog you down over a 7-game series.
Yes, and O'Reilly is not the talent that Matthews is, but he, in his own right, is a very good player. Oh, yeah. And they will, and keep in mind too, Tarasenko's played well. Like that guy was almost traded. The Kraken could have taken him and in the expansion draft and did not. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see. I'm glad they're playing Calgary on Saturday because I'm very curious to see now how this team plays against a team that is as hot as the Flames have been. I'd like to see them continue to be tested. And look, March is going to be tough, man. March is going to be tough. They come home. I think it's at some point in time after, because they play Calgary Tuesday at the X and then go on the road again. But at some point pretty early in March, they get to a point where I think they close the month out with a 9-game homestand. And so tons of games at home, but tons of games. And you are going to have to grind through that. And I think that we are now to a point of, especially because the style of play is morphing just a little bit so far, I think that we are now to the point of being able to sort of get a read on things. And I just don't I don't want this to be it was a fun year. I want to run here. I want to run, and I want you to give. I want this team to have the best chance possible to make a run. I don't think that they're going to the finals, but I also would hate to see them get ousted in like 5 games in the first round because goaltending didn't play well. Kirill didn't show up enough. Like there's a lot of things here that are going to be moving parts, and there's a lot of people here that have to play really well. And this is not a fun game in December. This is going to be a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough. But this is also the time to deliver.
Yeah, you have to deliver. I think 21 home games still remain for the Wild here for the rest of the
Nuts.
season, which is nuts. Yeah, they
I think it's a 9-game homestand, right?
Yeah,
Is
something
that
like
right?
that. Where they're gonna have a bleep load of games in March. And they still are actually on the road here for the majority of the next 10 days or so. But they'll have to make some hay at home. And if you can figure out a way to literally lock in that second seed in the Central Division, so potentially you could be playing home ice advantage, at least in the first round, that'd be huge for the Wild. But I think tonight, my big takeaway is just Toronto superstars showed up, Minnesota's didn't. Like, I honestly wonder too, Judd, like if the Wild lost to Toronto tonight 3-2, Kirill played well, Auston Matthews played well, and you lost just by 1 goal, but your superstar showed up and you played well. I think we're having a different tune on how we look at this game.
I'd feel different if about 3 things. So if they had lost and about 3 things were different, I think I wouldn't feel this way. 1, Kirill's line, because I'll say Hartman too. I mean, I'm beginning to become concerned that he is your top center, and he is really, to me, scuffling now. So the Kaprizov line is 1. If they had played well and Kaprizov played well, I'd feel differently. The second thing, the at least 3 or 4 careless giveaways, that bothers me. Like you can't have those. Those will kill you. And I think on what proved to be the goal by Matthews, the second one. So the one that made it 2-1 in the third period, Merrill got the puck to Duhaime. Duhaime gets his pocket picked by Auston, who then passes to Mitch Marner, who passes back for a goal. And that type of stuff does not fly. Like that's a bad, you have to be so careful with the puck, right? And the Kaprizov pass that I talked about before that led to a great Toronto scoring chance, not a goal, but a great scoring chance. So I'd feel differently if that hadn't occurred, but it did. And then the third thing is tonight, the just complete inability to win a faceoff at almost every turn. Again, I'm not saying, they got to win a ton of faceoffs. I'm not saying that. But from this team, we're seeing just an inability to win what are for you at the moment absolutely key draws.
Yep.
So like there are it's not the loss, it's the concerning things that occurred within the game that help lead to the loss.
I'm with you. That's what I take away too. It's not, doesn't derail any things, and they've lost 4 out of 5, but it's how you lost this one.
I agree with you on that. I'm not that concerned about that.
I don't care they lost 4 out of 5. That part isn't really.
And that's good. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
The question is, how did you lose to whom?
And what happened?
They shouldn't have lost on Tuesday, but you know what they did.
Yeah.
And that's not a great team that they played, and they didn't. At least at the start of the game, they didn't really show up. No. And so, yeah, I'm with you. The 4 out of 5, like if those become long stretches, yes, that's a problem.
But here's what's also weird. I believe this is now, because the Wild scored first tonight. I think this is the third time.
Yeah, they did.
In this third time that they've scored first and have lost a game the last 5 games, which is rare.
Correct.
And typically when you score first, I'm completely spitballing here, but when you score first, usually about an 80%.
The record was outstanding.
Usually like an 80 to 85% chance you're going to win that game. They've scored first in 3 of these games and they've lost.
Yes.
Not great.
Because they didn't score first on Tuesday, correct?
Correct.
The Senators scored first, but the games before that, they definitely had.
They scored first against Florida, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And that was it for that game.
Florida, Ottawa, Toronto. So that's 3 games in which they
Yeah.
have scored
This
first, and they still end up losing.
this performance, personally to me, bothers me a lot more than the Panthers game. I think the Panthers are a flat out better team. So that was disappointing, but push comes to shove, the Panthers, I don't think that the Wild matches up great against them, and I think they're a better team. I don't think Toronto is a better team. I think Toronto's a good team, but so are you.
Yeah.
I
think
I'm
it's
more
about a
concerned.
wash. I don't know if I can say that they're better
The
than
Panthers are
Toronto. They're better. Florida's better. Florida's
Florida,
definitely
right.
better.
But I'm saying I am not. The Florida loss did not stick in my craw like this one does.
Yeah.
Because I think Florida against the Wild, I think the Panthers are a flat out better team.
Mm-hmm.
I do not think that the Maple Leafs are a flat out better team than the Wild. That's my opinion, at least. Yeah. I think both these teams are good. They're really good. But you weren't outclassed here. You sort of cost yourself.
Yeah, Freddie Gaudreau got the scoring going for Minnesota. I see a couple comments saying Toronto scored first. No, that Minnesota scored first. Freddie Gaudreau scored.
Yeah, it was
25 seconds later. Toronto tied the game,
and Matthews scored, and it was a great goal.
Yeah,
and it was a great goal. Yeah, and you're right. If Kirill had played great and didn't score, got shut down because the Toronto goaltender played a great game, I think it would feel different. But he didn't. That's concerning. His line is a little bit concerning.
Yeah.
Mats Zuccarello did a lot tonight. He fanned a couple of great chances. I don't really fault him. But the Hartman thing, not great. So, yeah, I would love to know what Bill Guerin is thinking right now as far as because the one thing we don't know is this. We're the ones, and the media are the ones talking about goaltending, right? Like Bill Guerin's really, I don't think there's been an acknowledgement towards, hey, we're concerned, or because for the most part, the message from the team has been, we trust Talbot completely, and Kaapo's played well. So until I hear differently, I'm going to assume that if they're going to address something by the deadline, it's center. But I'm just saying, personally, for me, I think it's a lot. If I don't trust Cam Talbot, I think it's a lot to put on Kaapo's plate to say,
I feel you.
The net is yours, son. Go ahead and take it. Hey, before we get done here, I want to talk about my weight loss experience.
Yep.
Tackling golf, thanks to my friends at Livia Weight Control Centers. In fact, I started at 239. Today, I went and weighed in 204 pounds. That's right, 239 to 204.
Can you play center?
30 plus
Can you
pounds.
play goalie?
I can't. I'm 52. I can't skate.
Got it.
I can't skate.
Just
I used to skate. I can't really skate. I can't win a face-off too. But I want you to join me on this weight loss journey with the Livia I Did It 8-week challenge, where you get your first 8 weeks for free. That's right. You get your first 8 weeks for free in that period of time. Folks, I dropped 26 pounds. Here's how you can join. 855-GO-LIVEA. Livia.com, Livea.com. And Declan, here is the best part. Yes, there are people whose lives are being changed through this program all over this town, but we also have people from California, New York, Iowa, Texas, and today a lifelong Vikings fan signed up, and he lives in Utah. He zooms in. He's going to zoom in, and he's going to take that weight off. So if you are watching us from in town or out of town, Livea.com, Livea.com can help you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Love that.
So,
all right, Judd.
All right. So hopefully we will be back soon and beat the Bears of better news. And by the way, you should try that beer.
Thank you.
I told you that's a great. I've told you for 2 weeks now. That's an unbelievable beer.
Great beer.
The Wild plays Calgary on Saturday night. I'm guessing we're not going to do a show after that game. I'm guessing that, but they do play them next Tuesday night at the X. Correct. And I am guessing that we will be back for a show after that game.
We'll both be at that game, and then a brief tease next week the Hockey Whisperer is going to go into his crystal ball next week and be examining Hockey Whisperer-like things. So Judd and Declan are not just going to be taking the ropes of Judd's hockey show. There will be even more hockey content on the Mackey and Judd feed. Brief little tease for next week.
Yes.
Plenty of Minnesota Wild content coming up because there'll be more games. And also, because when Mackey's away, Judd's hockey show will play. He called us a cute podcast the other day.
Yeah, we are a cute podcast.
That irked me. No,
we're
a
very cute
We're not
podcast.
Cute. We're not just cute.
I know it didn't bother me at all. I mean, it was condescending.
It was condescending.
But as a guy who's been condescending myself, I'm used to condescending.
I get it.
All right, take us away.
All right. Yeah, hit the subscribe button for daily Minnesota sports entertainment right here on this YouTube channel. We're on Apple, we're on Spotify. Score North app is a central hub. No Bill Guerin. I would love to play it, but not yet. Until then.
Boo.
Pass, shoot, score.